Good morning. Welcome to our daily devotion. Today is Tuesday, November 24th. Hey, we're going to start the book of Matthew. I can remember, let me just read the first verses. A record of the genealogy of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. I can remember when I first took an interest in God and thought I was going to start reading the Bible. And I remember I had a big old Bible on the mantle, on the fireplace mantle. So I took it down and I opened it up to the New Testament, to Matthew, and I started reading. And of course, it was all the genealogy. And I started reading it. Thought, oh my gosh, I don't understand any of this. So I closed the Bible, put it down, never touched it again for a few years. But know that the genealogy was, first of all, Matthew was written to the Jewish people. Morning, John. Morning, Marcy. Was written to the Jewish people. And to the Jewish people, it was extremely important to know where they came from. It's like Mark, the book, the Gospel of Mark was written to the Romans. They loved to know action. So Mark constantly talks about what Jesus had done. And then Luke was to the Greeks, and the Greeks were into knowledge. John, of course, was to everyone. That's the one that we just finished. Good morning, Veronica. Good morning, Anna. So the Jewish people, where they came from was important to them. It's why they would never marry outside of the Jewish race. A Jew would marry a Jew. If the Jew did marry someone outside of the Jewish faith, they were called a Samaritan. Samaritans were hated by the Jews. I've told you many times, when the Jews would travel, they would refuse to travel through Samaria. They would go all the way around because they didn't want to. They felt that if they went through Samaria, it would be like evil would touch them. They'd be unclean. So where they came from was important. Some of you, I know, are full-blooded. Anna, I don't know whether you're 100% Dutch, but it's quite possible you are. Veronica, it's quite possible you are 100% Hispanic. Some of you have full nationality. So to you, it would be more important, good morning, Will, it would be more important for you to know your ancestry. For those that got all kinds of nationalities, like my children and my grandchildren, they could care less. They've got multiple nationalities in their blood, so that it's not as important to them. Now, here's the important part of our ancestry. It's interesting. It's interesting how many of us follow the footsteps of our parents and our grandparents. We follow. We are. How many times have you met someone and they say, "Oh my gosh, you look just like your father." Oh my God, I remember your mom. You look just like your mom. We have the traits of our parents, our grandparents, and goes down the line. Mine. My father was into construction, working with his hands all his life. That's what I became, and that's what my sons now do. My father was a Ford lover, never bought anything but a Ford. So naturally, I became a Ford lover, and now here's some of my children are nothing but Ford lovers. Even political affiliation. My parents were Democrat, so when I registered Democrat. I had no idea the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. No idea whatsoever. I just registered Democrat because that's what my parents were. So we follow the footsteps of our parents, of our grandparents, but they also pass other things down to us. Good morning, Jason. Good morning, Michelle. Good morning, Alicia. They also have passed down their faith on us. My parents passed down their faith on to me. Let me just read here from 2 Timothy, where Paul talks to Timothy, and he says this. In verse 5, I have been reminded of your sincere faith, which first lived in your grandmother Lois and in your mother Eunice, and now I am persuaded now lives in you also. Paul is saying to Timothy, your faith came from your mother and your grandmother. My faith came from my parents and my grandparents. I'll bet you that's where your faith came from. And then in 2 Timothy 3:14 and 15, he says this also, but as for you, continue in what you have learned and have become convinced of, because you know those from whom you learned it, and how from infancy you have known the scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith in Christ Jesus. He's saying to Timothy, you knew about Jesus from infancy. I did too. I wouldn't say so much Jesus is God. I never learned a personal relationship with Jesus, unfortunately, but I learned a lot of things from my parents. Faith was important to them. What have you passed down? What have you passed down to your children and grandchildren? There's nothing more important to pass down. You may have wealth that you'll pass down to your children. That's great. Some of you may have had wealth passed down to you. You may have had an inheritance, but that's not near as important as the faith that was passed down to you. The faith that was passed. Now here's what amazes me. I've been working with youth a long time now, as Jason knows. It amazes me when I find a young person that has no religious background at all. Their parents are unbelievers. Their grandparents are unbelievers. There's no believers in their genealogy at all. And yet here they are seeking Jesus. It's amazing. It's rare, but it's amazing that all of a sudden someone that has no history of faith seeks faith. That's exciting. That's exciting. Know this, that your children will follow your example. I know this for myself. I go to church because my parents never missed going to church. That they just didn't miss. There was something you did every Sunday. You went to church. I say grace before meals because that's what we did as a family. We never ate a meal without saying the grace. I pray because that's what we did with our family. We prayed the rosary every single night. Now, I don't know, some of you know what the rosary is. It's where you repeat the Hail Mary. My wife just asked me, how many times do you say it? And I said 53 times. And then you say the Our Father, you say the Glory Be, and you say the Apostles' Creed. But we did that every single night, never missed. I can remember we would go traveling to a cousin's house, and we'd be in the way home late at night, and we'd be praying it in the car on the way home. So I learned how to pray. I keep Sunday holy. My parents never worked on Sunday. Now, we grew up on a farm, and in harvest time, it was important to get your crop off before the rains came. You only had a certain amount of time to get your crop off. My dad would see the neighbors in the field take their crop off on Sunday, but he would not go out in the field on Sunday. He kept Sunday holy. We had family meals together. We ate our meals around the kitchen table all the time. Guess what? With my children and now with my grandchildren, we eat around the table. Now, my grandchildren stay with me for dinner a couple nights a week, and they always want to bring the laptop with them for their games. And they come to the table and say, nope, no laptops, no phones. This is family time. This is where, no, this is where we shut the TV off, because that's what I grew up learning. I work hard because my parents worked hard, and now my children work hard. So my parents passed on these things to me, and I pass on these things to my children and now to my grandchildren. But faith is the most important part of everything you pass down. everything you can pass down, it's faith that's the most important. So what are you passing down to your children? What are you passing down to your grandchildren? Now, some of these things, if your parents didn't pass this down to you, if they didn't pass down the importance of praying before a meal, saying grace before, if they didn't pass down the importance of going to church, you start that now so that you can pass that on to your children and to your grandchildren. Because that's how faith grows, passing it down from one generation to the next. There's good things passed down, and of course there's bad things. We won't talk about that. We won't talk about the bad things this morning. Let's just talk about the good things. Pass it down to your children and to your grandchildren. Hey, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Tonight is Impact for our youth. If you can join at 7. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock as we continue the book of Matthew. God bless you. Have a great, great, great day.